Recording stopped. Evening, members, honorable members, and the members of the Audit Committee. Can I just request that we just wait for a few minutes to allow other members, because today things have been hectic. People are flying, and there's been some lot of activities. Then we'll start at exactly at 6:10. Thank you, members. at 6:10, and I think we should start. Those who have not yet logged in, they will join us on the way. Members, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much, honorable members, and also members of the Audit and Risk Management Committee who are here with us, and other support staff members that I could see being present with us. Now, Mr. Skwela, without wasting any time, can you flight the agenda for us? I'm also told members that this is also recorded, so I will request that particularly members who are speaking, if possible, they can just put their videos on, but if that will affect the quality of their input in terms of connectivity, then you can just not put on your video.
Is it visible?
Yes, it is. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.
Honorable members, Audit and Risk Committee Management Committees members, this is the agenda. And can we then, without wasting any time, it has been a long day for most of the members, and I'm sure some of the officials from the Audit and Risk Management Committees, they've been also active in one way or the other. That is the agenda. Can I then open this meeting officially and welcome everybody present in the meeting. Those who are not with us, then they will join us as time goes on. Can I get apologies, Mr. Skwela? Are there any apologies on your side? And members, if also they have apologies, they can just raise them under this item.
And thank you, Chair. I have one apology from far, and that of Honorable Swartz. She's on a flight to Cape Town. And also, Honorable Mowela will join the meeting a bit later.
Or any other apologies from the members and the Audit and Risk Management Committee? So we seem not to have any apologies. From my side, let me forward.
My hand is up, sir.
Oh, okay.
My hand is up.
Honorable, yes, Mushew.
I'm going to ask to be excused at 8. I have another meeting, sir.
At 8 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No, thanks very much, Reverend. That's noted. And then on my side, let me apologize on behalf of the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee. She is not feeling well. She's been to the doctor, and she was intending to be part of the meeting.
Recording in progress.
This evening, but where in my discussion, we agreed that if she's still not feeling well, then she can just carry on resting, and then we'll carry on with the meeting. But if she's okay, then she can join the meeting. So she might join, she might not join. And then on that score, honorable members, I think let's note, can we get the mover of these apologies and the seconder?
I move.
I move. I second, Chair.
Okay, who moved? I heard Honorable Nkosi seconding. Who was the first mover?
Ngola.
Oh, Honorable Ngola, thanks very much. Honorable Ngola moved and Honorable Nkosi seconded. And then I think then let's go to the adoption of the agenda. Can we get a mover and the seconder of the adoption of the agenda?
I move, Chair.
Honorable Nkosi moves. Can we get a seconder? Any seconder?
I second, sir.
Okay, Honorable Mshewi seconds. No, thanks very much, honorable members. I think let's just go straight to the opening remarks of the chair, which I'm going to read on her behalf. And then after that, we'll then allow the Audit and Risk Management Committee members to do their presentation. The opening remarks of the chair for this meeting are as follows. The Portfolio Committee has observed that the Audit Committee has reported similar to the way the department would report. The committee's expectation is that the Audit Committee should be an independent governance structure, providing an oversight role on the system of internal control, risk management, and governance of the department. Therefore, in this case, it is expected that the Audit Committee should present an assessment of the performance of the department in its implementation of the Audit Action Plan. The current report does not assist the committee to zero in to the extent to which the department has or has not achieved its targets, or why it has not addressed the audit findings of the previous year's audits. It should be remembered that the role of the Audit Committee, among others, is to provide some level of assurance in order to complement the oversight role of the committee. The Audit Committee should provide the committee with information to fully engage the department on its quarterly and annual performance by pointing to the risk associated with its overall performance. The Portfolio Committee observes that while the Audit Action Plan addresses in the main concern raised by the Auditor General, the oversight-related recommendations from Parliament arising at improving accountability are not followed up. Issues of oversight concern keep reappearing. So in this instance and in this meeting, audit members, we really want to see change and a real change, not the one that we are raising now, where we can't draw difference between yourselves and the department reporting. In those words, I would then just hand over to the members of the Audit and Risk Management Committee to do their presentation. So if ma'am or sir, you can introduce yourself and then present your presentation to the committee. I think a committee would see the department is not here, and it has always been a trend because the reason is that we want to engage with the Audit and Risk Committee in a more independent manner, and that they can be able to engage on us and raise issues without fear or favor. So that is why it's the meeting between the committee and this Audit and Risk Committee without the presence of the department. So I felt that let me explain that so that we will not get that question arising. And it has always been a norm that we do it that way. Over to you, members of the Audit and Risk Committee. If you can just come in and introduce yourself and the team, and then just zoom in the presentation.
Okay. Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson. A very good afternoon to the Honorable Chairperson and the members of the Portfolio Committee. First and foremost, let me appreciate the opportunity that has been afforded by this committee to the Audit and Risk Management Committee to present and brief this Honorable Portfolio Committee on the implementation of the Department of International Relations and Cooperation's Audit Action Plan. I would like really to introduce the team, if I may. In the meeting, Honorable Chairperson, we've got Mr. Barry Wheeler, who is the Deputy Chairperson and who's also been seconded by the Audit Committee to chair the Risk Management Committee of the department. We've got Dr. Claudel van Eck. I would have hoped that as I introduce them, they will, switched on the video just for the honorable members to be able to put the name to a face. But if it's not possible, then
can
that's
they
fine.
do that? Can they do that? Sorry to interject. If they can, if they can't, it's fine.
Great stuff. Members, I'll start with Mr. Barry Wheeler. Sir, if you can just switch on your video.
I've switched the video on. I trust it's operating. Good evening, Honourable Chair. Honourable Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, thank you very much indeed. I'm Barry Wheeler, and as indicated, I also chair the Risk Management Committee within the department. So there is an independent chair to that committee. There's also regular feedback between the Risk Management Committee and the Audit Committee through reporting on a regular basis to the Audit Committee. I'll also engage with yourself and the honourable members of the committee as and when I feel there's a need during the course of the meeting this evening. Thank you kindly, Chair, and thank you very much, Ayanda.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. Dr. Claudel van Eck.
Good evening, Honourable Chair, honourable members. Thank you very much for the opportunity to engage with you this evening. I'm Claudel van Eck.
Great stuff. Ms. Gabisile Simelane.
Good evening, Chair. I think okay, let me just see. I'm not sure if you can see my video, but good evening, Honorable Chair and members. My name is Gabsida Simelane. I am the member of the DIRCO Audit and Risk Committee meeting. Thank you.
Ms. Gabi, you deprived the Honorable Chair and the members of your picture, but hopefully, in the not so distant future, they will be able to see your face. We could not really see your video. And then the last one, Honorable Chairperson, is Dr. Pritish Dalla.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members, as well as to the Chairperson of the Audit and Risk Committee. I'm Pritish Dala, and I'm a member of the committee. Pleased to meet you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, members. And then we can go to our presentation. Honorable Chairperson, probably I'll also be guided by the committee if I could share the presentation, or the Secretariat will share the presentation as it was circulated to the members, to the honorable members. So I'll just need guidance. Is there someone who's from the Secretariat office that's going to share the or flight the presentation?
Yeah, Chair, no, it's fine either way, as long as there's a presentation that we can see. We'll appreciate that.
Okay. May I humbly then request the Secretariat office to flight the presentation for us? Whilst maybe the Secretariat is doing so, Chairperson, if you may allow me, may I also introduce the officials from the department, mainly that are working closely with the Audit and Risk Committee. In our midst, we've got the Chief Audit Executive, Mr. Gideon Labane, as well as the Chief Risk Officer, Ms. Motabi Mokutukanele. Maybe I might have mispronounced her surname. Are we winning with flighting the presentation? Okay, let me share from my side. Members, you let me know once you are able to see the presentation.
We're still waiting to see it. It has not come out.
Not yet. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to share screen. Can the members see the screen?
Not yet, Chairperson. We just see somebody's Popeye there.
Okay. Please, apologies for that. CCAE, may I just urgently request you that you share. Probably it might be the compatibility issue. I am using iPad, so it's asking me for some preferences, you know, for access for Zoom. Maybe if I may allow, if I may ask, humbly ask you that you just share from your side.
Okay, Chair, I think, okay.
And apologies for that.
Coming.
Thank you.
No, it's
Thank
coming.
you so
It's
much.
fine now. Yeah. No, then you can go ahead, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you so much, members. So thank you so much. The one that is driving, so I will also assist you just to be able then just to flight, the presentation. Okay.
I'm the
So
one
can you
assisting, Chair, is the CRO. I've managed to flight it, so you'll just guide me which pages I must move to.
Thank you so much. Okay, then members, basically the presentation outlay, that is what we will be briefing the committee members on. You can move to the next page. Okay, thank you. So as the chairperson rightfully pointed out in reading out the remarks by the chairperson of the portfolio committee on the work and the purpose of the audit committee. So the legal authority or the legal standing of the audit committee really is founded in the PFMA, section 38, as well read together section 76 and section 77. So in the main, really, the PFMA prescribes that the accounting officer for a department, the trading entity, or an institution must ensure that it maintains a system of internal audit under the control and direction of an audit committee. And it's also find it a legal standing from the Treasury regulations, paragraph 3.1.1 to 3.1.16, where in the main really it is spelling out the work and the responsibilities of this committee. So it is indeed a committee that is an independent committee from the department or from management. So in terms of the Treasury regulations 3.1.12, this committee must report and make recommendations to the accounting officer. In this instance is the Director General, wherein then the accounting officer retains the responsibility for implementing the recommendations by this committee. So the audit committee is indeed an independent committee which has which plays an advisory role and should not really perform any management function or assume any, but in it discharging its oversight responsibilities, it raise consent and make recommendations to the accounting officer, for his final or her final decision and implementation thereof, as stated in section 38 of the PFMA. So, so the Director General in the main then retains the responsibility for implementing the recommendations by the audit committee. This committee should its recommendations not be implemented or taken seriously. They are escalation, processes, even to the executive or authority and so forth. So really in the main, this this committee shall assist the accounting officer in the oversight of the financial information, effectiveness of internal controls and risk management, effectiveness of the internal audit function. We also monitor and look into the internal audit function, because it is also one of the critical functions that assist the department in the implementation of effective controls, as well as the compliance with the laws and regulations. And this committee plays oversight on the ICT as well. You can move on. Honorable Chairperson, allow me then to report and brief this committee on the progress update on the matters that were raised by the audit committee with the portfolio, committee, with this committee in the past. And because as the committee, we are, on a regular basis, play that oversight role and monitor the implementation of the recommendations, that are made by the audit committee. Obviously, as we, raise issues, we also recommend and advise the department and the accounting officer in how to, to address those issues. And then our responsibility and duty is to monitor and the implementation of those recommendations. Obviously, in the past, we have raised with this committee, the challenges that are persistently, the department being, seized with, and these matters we have raised in the past, and this committee really monitors the progress thereof. We had raised, before the issues on the budget overspending on the compensation of employees, and the audit committee did made, the recommendation. Now we are briefing the audit this honorable committee in the progress update on the implementation of these recommendations that were made by the audit committee. Honorable Chairperson, we would like really to report that on the recommendation under the budget overspending on the compensation of employees, there has been progress really, that the department have made, though it has not been at the pace that we would have liked it to be. However, there have been, progress in the implementation such that, the 6 of the 12 missions, have been closed. This committee will recall that, in our recommendation, we had recommended to the department that they must look into and review, our presence, in some of the missions abroad, because some of the, the cost drivers on, on the line on the compensation of employees emanate from the the missions abroad, or the foreign missions. So to date, the department has been able to close about 6 missions, as at 30th of June, and we have monitored that, and we have, as the committee, we have even looked at the impact of, the closure of these 6 missions on the compensation of employees, and accordingly, the estimated savings, as a result of the closure of these missions, 6 missions for now, is we are looking at about 60 million worth of savings, obviously at an estimated cost of about 16 million, that will be incurred in the closure, in closing these, missions. And we are satisfied for now, as we had, assessed, the rationale and the criteria that the department has, used in identifying and the manner that these missions have been closed. So the missions that have been closed, so those services would be serviced, or by the nearby missions. There are 4 that are expected, Honorable Chairperson, to be closed by the 15th of December in 2024, and then the 2 will be closed in 2023, because mainly they are linked to the term of the head of mission. So we will also paying close monitoring on on this implementation. Chair, just on the next one, the issues that have been raised has been, the underfunding for some of the expenditure. Yes, this department, has, challenges when, it has budgetary, constraints, and in their endeavor to, to address those budgetary constraints, the recommendations were made then that also the department must also look into and review the South Africans' membership in some of the international organizations as well. And there has been, a consistent engagement with the National Treasury, to address, this, the underfunding. I must say there has been the limited progress. And this has been in the main linked to the implementation of the Foreign Services Act and the high vacancy rate. Chair, I will, Honorable Chair, I will then deal with that in my next slides. One of the issues that were also, raised, and which is still a persistent challenge in the department, is around irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure. In the period under review, Chair, which was, as at 31st of March, 2021, the department had reported about 177 million worth of irregular expenditure, and about 23 million, I'll just get my of fruitless and wasteful expenditure. Yes, as much as there has been progress in the resolution or in addressing this non-compliance, as the committee we have flagged to the department the pace at which this matter is being addressed. But the progress that we have thus far is that the reported irregular expenditure unfortunately has not yet been condoned, as the process of assessment and investigation is still underway. And our concern, that we have raised is around, taking corrective action, consequence management, which has also been cited and raised by, the Auditor General. So we are paying close, monitoring on this, on this issue, such that the department will be tabling, the report on the assessment and the investigation on the irregular expenditure sometime before the end of this quarter, which we will be looking into and raising a concern and putting the department to task. Another matter was on the non-implementation or rather lack of consequence management, and we had made recommendation, and the progress update on the recommendations that we have made, as much as in the previous briefing by the audit committee, we had reported no progress. In this instance, Honorable Chairperson, there has been progress, as far as consequence management is concerned. The committee might be aware that the accounting officer, the DG, and the CFO have been put on suspension as part of the department implementing consequence management. But I will get into that later when we deal with the progress on the audit action plan as far as consequence management is concerned. Chair, I'll move on to other, the matter that was also raised, which is, it is a persistent challenge, in the department, is around leadership deficiencies in some part of the department, resulting in a culture of impunity and low staff morale. Here, linked to the above, Chair, there has been progress, in this, because there is consequence management that is currently underway. As senior members are on suspension as part of the implementation of consequence management. Obviously, as the committee, we will continue to monitor this and raise this sharply with the acting DG in terms of conducting a culture survey, and the implementation of the recommendations. But to date, there hasn't been any progress. Chairperson, on the ICT related matters, mostly on the ICT infrastructure that is aging, that is outdated, there hasn't been much of the progress. However, there has been the limited progress on this in addressing the recommendations that were put forth by the audit committee, such that the CIO, Chief Information Officer, has been appointed. That position was vacant for about a year, and that had really hampered the progress on the ICT infrastructure issue. So we commend the department at least for implementing that recommendation in appointing the CIO last year. However, these matters, ICT matters, still need to be fast-tracked and be addressed as a matter of urgency. Obviously, the department has raised issues on the budget, constraint in filling out the vacancies in the ICT unit. Chair, we have raised, this issue, or rather the pace of, the implementation in this regard, especially in the wake of, the era that we find ourselves in, where mostly we were working remotely, where, the officials are supposed to have tools of trade where they could work remotely. The infrastructure refresher plan has really been slow, such that there are officials that still have no laptops. So this is, what we have also been closely monitoring and, raising with the DG for the implementation by the CIO. But there has been progress, in other areas, but I will just address that as well. Chair, in terms of challenges around assets, the honourable
Recording
chairperson
stopped.
might recall that the department had challenges around assets, the completeness and the existence of the asset, especially at the missions. And it has been an issue that was raised by the Auditor General year in, year out. The recommendations, that were put forward by the committee, I must, commend the department that they have been fully implemented, such that, there is an asset management software that has been, procured and rolled out by the department, which makes, accounting for their assets much easier than the manual process that they used to do. So this one, I will commend the department in addressing this matter. However, the audit committee will continue to monitor this, closely, because, we are still yet also to get, the final audit outcome.
Recording in
by the
progress.
AG, on this matter, because the implementation was done during the period under review. So we will keep on monitoring this until there is stability in the system that has been rolled out by the department for asset management. Chairperson, allow me then to move on to part see, which really in the main, we are briefing
Sorry,
the
Chair.
audit committee.
Sorry, Chair.
Yes, Chairperson.
Yes, sorry to just come in now before you move to the other one. I just want to correct one thing that you keep on raising in your presentations, because I want us to be on the same page. You keep on saying that this part is on our recommendations. When you talk about recommendations, as if it's your recommendations, what I want to correct so that it will be correctly recorded is that the recommendations that we are talking to, it's the portfolio committee recommendations to the department. So are we on the same page on that one? Hello, Chair. Can the Chair unmute?
Oh, apologies, Chair. I was talking to myself. Sorry, I was not aware that I had unmuted. I've muted myself.
No, it's fine. But did you hear what I
Yes.
I raised?
Yes, Chair.
So are we on the same page? Do we agree?
Chair, yes, these were the recommendations by the portfolio committee, which
to the department.
Yes, to the
Yes.
department, which also there are similarities, because even the audit committee also, did raise similar recommendations to the department.
Sure, but let us just agree that even if that is the case, but you're talking to the recommendations, which even if they are similar, but recommendations that were made by the portfolio committee to the department. So that when we engage, we'll be able to say, but this is what we recommended. You're saying this is the progress and what, and then we engage on that basis.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members.
Okay, thanks.
Is the honorable committee chair, through you, honorable Chairperson, is the committee still comfortable that my video is off? Because I'm also just cognizant of the, the bandwidth, the connectivity, but I'll still, but please let me know if my connectivity becomes bad, then I'll switch it off.
Okay, no, it's fine.
May
So
I
far,
continue?
it's still okay, Chair. But
Thank you
if it's giving you a problem, feel free to turn it off.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair.
And we are happy to see your face.
Okay, Chair, you can proceed. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. Then as we move on then to the observations by the audit committee, on the from the audit action plan that the department had compiled in addressing the issues that were raised by the Auditor General as well as the internal audit. So the department subsequently incorporated some of incorporated the audit findings by the internal audit. So this has been the observations by the audit committee concerned on the on the effectiveness of the plan. So as the incoming audit committee, we have interrogated the audit action plan that the department compiled, and these were the observations and what we have also raised to the audit to the department, because at the end of the day, or in the main, the audit action plan must seek to address the root cause and and the issues that have been raised, to ensure that the department implements the controls that will address all of those issues. So Honorable Chairperson, we did note, obviously, that there was a delayed conclusion of the 2019-20 external audit process, such that the Auditor General issued its report on the 30th of September 2020. So this was in the main, really, as the Honorable Chair will recall, due to COVID-19, such that the financial reporting cycle and the audit cycle was extended. Yes, that might also have been to the detriment of the department. However, during the course of the audit, the department was aware of the issues and the findings that the Auditor General and the internal audit raised. So the audit committee really highlight to management the need to give immediate attention and act with speed in resolving the material audit findings that were raised by the assurance providers, especially the matter on the damages and disallowance account, which caused the department to be qualified by the Auditor General. Yes, there might have been the underestimation on the extent of work and the complexity that was required, to address and clear, this, issue. So basically, the department started very late. However, I will go into detail in the next slide. The significant, movement, though it started very late, but we have seen a drastic and significant movement on this, damages and disallowance account. So in the main, our observation was that the department really started late, in addressing some of the issues in the audit action plan. So this, will be the lesson going forward, and this committee will keep close, attention and monitoring, on the implementation and the compilation of the audit action plan. And what we also, observed was that, the department really did not do much justice in their root cause analysis, when they were developing, this plan, because, in essence, the plan must address the root cause of the, of that matter that gave rise to the finding. The root cause analysis was inadequate, which then, the department stands a risk of addressing the matter, but not addressing the root cause. So that has been, raised with the department, but however, there have been some pockets of improvement, around that, also through, the use of the internal audit. One of the concerns, Chair, that we have, observed was the fact that internal assurance providers, internal audit and risk management committee, are not adequately capacitated to execute their mandate in full. So by that we mean, in the internal audit is one of the internal assurance providers that must assist, management and to give a certain level of assurance. For instance, Honorable Chairperson, internal audit in this instance was not able to adequately do follow-up audits once management have completed their implementation, just to give a level of assurance to say indeed management has fully implemented the controls and the finding has been resolved. So that has been lacking. And also risk management, committee has not, has not been fully capacitated. Actually, risk management committee was, non-existent, in the department, for some time. So it has just been in the recent, recently, Honorable Chair, that this committee has been resuscitated. And if it was capacitated and was active, some of the audit related risks would have been identified, and mitigating controls would have been put in place to avert any audit findings. So those were the our observation, but I will report to later on some of the improvements that we have seen in the department. Other hindrances, Chairperson, that we had observed and identified, which was going to render the audit action plan or the implementation thereof not effective, was the fact that even the plan that was presented, or that the department compiled, was not complete, in a sense that it did not incorporate the audit findings by the internal by the internal audit, because the plan must be comprehensive in it, in it addressing and address the the findings in its entirety. So there were, what was also inadequate with the plan was that the management did not really put detailed actions that they will embark on to implement the plan and address those findings. There were no implementation date and so forth, but actually then that was subsequently addressed, because we want the plan to be as realistic and effective as possible. Chair, some of the other observations was that there has been a lack of understanding on the value that the internal audit, as one of the critical internal assurance providers, the role that they play. So the department has really looked into implementing the combined assurance principle, because every assurance provider has a role in ensuring that they are controls are effective, or the system of controls is effective in the department, which then in the main will avert any audit findings. Maybe we can move then to part D, where I really want to get to the main and to the crux of the brief by this committee on the progress update on the implementation of the audit action plan by the department. Chairperson, the department have had about 49 audit findings, including the findings that were raised by the internal audit. The AG had raised about 37 audit findings in the financial year 2019-20. To date, the AG is still in the process of finalizing the 2021 financial year external audit process. So that has not been, finalized. So the audit action plan talks to the 2019, findings, together with, the findings, by the internal audit that were raised during, the 2021 financial year. On the significant, findings, Honorable Chairperson, the status really on the recommendation, I must say, the department has not fully or 100% implemented all the recommendation as per the audit action plan in the audit action plan. However, they are improvements and also actions that have been taken by the department. The first one was on the damages and disallowance account, Honorable Chairperson, which caused the department to obtain a qualified audit opinion. Actually, they were qualified, because of this matter on the disallowance account, and where there were material, misstatements here. But however, this was a scope limitation by the AG. Last year, in the previous financial year, Honorable Chair, in this account, the balance was sitting at about 186 million. When the department closed its books on the 31st of March 2021, in this the previous financial year, we're sitting at about 55 million. But to date, the balance is at a region of about 49 million. So, Chair, I must say on this one, the department had made significant, improvement and significant progress, if I to say so, because about 70%, of the issues, the exceptions, and the reconciling items have been cleared, from this account. So really, as the committee, we will commend the department for the work that has been done thus far. Though we are still concerned that the balance, it is still high. Is still high. However, the department had conducted the forensic investigation as was recommended, and the final report, the 69-page report, was circulated to us as the audit committee, and we had looked into this report. As much as there are 10 recommendations that has been put forth for the implementation by the department, we will still really play close monitoring on this account or this matter. As much as the report has cited that there are no significant fraudulent activities, but it's a matter of misallocations and record keeping, so which then the department must look into their record keeping and some of the the recommendations that this department, this report rather, has recommended. So we are commending the department for this one, at least, that some of those recommendations and the controls are put in place. For example, the missions now, they are performing or their monthly reconciliations, to ensure that the balance is reduced on this account. So really there has been a significant progress on this. However, the AG, it is still then busy with the audit of this account for the 2021 audit. So we will be getting the audit outcome, and we hopefully this time around the department won't be qualified on this matter. So, Chair, I had reported that we were concerned that the department started late, but we have seen then the significant progress on this, and had the department maybe started earlier, maybe we would have reduced this balance to an acceptable level. However, I am not watering down the work that this the department have done this far. Honorable Chairperson, then on around the, on the matters, SCM related matters, these, the contract that gave rise to the irregular expenditure, those contract, about three contracts have been terminated, with the exception of the BT communication, which could not be terminated because the department is still in process of procuring the new service provider. So this contract, it is still, the department, it is still incurring irregular expenditure on this contract. However, they had approached the National Treasury for an extension, which was declined, but this contract is on the month-to-month, whilst the department is engaging in the tender process. So we have raised this issue, and as the Audited Committee, we have noted the slow pace in the procurement process for the new service provider to be appointed. On the unauthorized expenditure, Chair, in the for financial year 2021, the department is sitting with about 239 million worth of unauthorized expenditure that has been incurred. Chair, this really the progress here has it's a bit limited. There's limited progress on this matter, mainly due to the delay on the review of the structure, which will address the challenges around the COE ceiling. However, there has also been EBP progress, as I had reported earlier, that few missions, 6 to be exact, have been closed, and 4 will be finalized for closure in December. So this will free up the over spending on the COE, and the transfer of of officials abroad will be done by the department in the staggered manner. However, there is progress on this one. As the Audit Committee, we will still monitor this, because lest this is fast-tracked, the department will still be, this will still be a persistent challenge. On the fruitless and wasteful expenditure, Chair, as I had said earlier, Honorable Chairperson, that the department recorded 23 million worth of fruitless expenditure, and our concern here has been also the slow pace in addressing this matter. However, the assessment and investigations on this matter is still underway, where then upon completion, we will monitor, and we will really hope that the department will act with swift on consequence management. So the Audit Committee will keep close monitoring on this, and the report to be tabled by management before the end of this quarter on the assessment and in investigations that are still underway. So, and also we will look into and monitor the implementation of consequence management, which is the responsibility of the accounting officer, or the responsibility of management. Chair, I'll move on then to the other findings and the closure thereof. On this one, on the charter flight that were not, the charter flight services that were not procured in accordance with the existing transversal contract. The progress on that one, we are happy with the progress thus far, that what was recommended has been completed. So as such that the SCM process or the procurement of such, it is now centralized, in the department, and workshop on this SCM regulations and prescript have been done, with the relevant of official. Obviously, we will also wait for the final audit, by the AG, where then we will test if there are any repeat findings, on this. Obviously, this will still then go through the condonation process. Chair, allow me just to just high level, a brief this committee on the asset matters. As I had said earlier, the asset matters, they've really, improved, and there has been, significant progress. However, we will still, wait for the final, audit by the AG for 2021. To test, the implementation of the asset management system, if it has, yielded a result. But what we have been briefed as the preliminary external audit results have really indicated some improvement, especially in the missions. However, there are still, issues with assets, in some missions that were sampled. Actually, the AG sampled about 25 missions, to conduct, asset verification. So we will keep close monitoring on this matter, because we don't want the department to regress on this, because this has been, an issue that the department has always had, been seized with, but there has been improvement. So we commend the department for implementing, asset management, system. Chair, that also speaks to the the next findings, where there has been also a progress, and the internal audit has assisted in this regard to ensure that asset related reporting, it is correct in the books. So we will await the final audit by the AG. Lastly, Chair, on the one of the significant findings where it is still an issue, the long outstanding amounts that the department owes to Department of Home Affairs. Chair, Honorable Chairperson, this they're about 288 million. And that the department, as at the 31st of March 2021, that the department owes home affairs. Now the concern and that has we have raised, and the issue around this is the liquidity. It comes with liquidity challenges, such that the department might not usually is not in the position, or to pay over this fund, because of the due to unavailability of funds. So management has been engaging the National Treasury on this matter, because really a significant amount still being owed to the Department of Home Affairs, and really this will put a strain in the in the cash reserves of the department. So the National Treasury will have to guide both ministers of Home Affairs and DIRCO on the way forward. So Chair, this is also one of the the concerns, and it's also linked to some of the issues that that have been picked up or raised by the AG in the damages and disallowance account. Chair, allow me then to move to the next a slide which really talks to the risks that we have, identified, that we, as the committee, we feel they will negatively affect the financial performance and the operations of, the department. The chairperson of the Risk Management Committee is here, and also will elaborate, if needs be, for this committee on the risks that have been identified, which the department is also looking into addressing. Chair, the risk that we have raised sharply with the department is has been around the ICT related findings, and not only the findings but the ICT environment. As I had mentioned earlier, Chairperson, that the ICT infrastructure, it is obsolete. There are still system limitations that the department has to deal with, which unfortunately require financial resources and and investment. As I've said, also there's a high vacancy rate, in that department. There are vacancies that still needs to be filled. However, we have assessed and looked, identified, or rather, the management has reported, the following interventions that they've put in, in place, which they've looked into, aligning the ICT structure with the digital strategy and reskilling of the current resources that they have. Obviously, they are still capacity, constrained. The department, through the CIO, they are trying to expedite the implementation of the infrastructure modernization. However, as I've said, the progress, it is still slow, honorable Chairperson, because we would have loved to, the department to fast track, the laptop refresher, plan, so that, the officials have a tools of trade to be able to work remotely. Other risk that we have identified is the excessive spending on the list for the New York mission. However, on the 1st of June, the portfolio committee might be aware that the mission has moved to the new premises. So that was one of the risks that we had I identified, because it was also draining on the financial reserves or resources of the department. We had raised issues on the organizational structure review process that is taking long. Yes, as much as the consultations are still ongoing, likely to be concluded within three months. However, that is still a risk that will negatively affect the operations of the department. Chairpersons, let me move on the various property management challenges. Probably this committee will also appreciate, the feedback that was given by the department earlier this morning around property management, issues. Those, we have flagged that as the risks, that may negatively affect the operations of the department, where really, there is a continued backlog in the maintenance and renovations activities, and the property management portfolio unit is not adequately staffed with professional, staff. So that also is a hindrance, but we do take note that the filling of the vacancies or the positions for the chief director and director for property management are underway. So, and we will really, we are pleading with the department to fast track, the filling of these vacancies. Excuse me. There has been also the delays in the implementation of the FSA, and which has really in the main been caused by the delay in the finalization of the regulation. So that these are the risks that has also been raised sharply with the department. Delays in establishing the contracts management unit, and we have raised this because if this is implemented, this will assist in capping irregular expenditures. Chair, one of the risks as well is the unusual high number of litigations. This department, its mandate, it is not in to be the litigants or to be involved in litigation. So as the committee, we have raised this as a risk. However, on a regular basis, we do get the litigation matters and the cases that the department is dealing with, and we do note the improvement. However, some of the cases have remained not finalized. So we have raised that as a risk as well. Chair, true to what I've said earlier, on the tools of trade, this has really, this risk has materialized because of the challenges that have been brought by COVID-19, where most officials have to work remotely. So lack of tools of trade really will negatively affect the operations of the department. And we have raised this sharply with the CIO and the acting DG to look into this, to look into this matter. Chair, the irregular expenditure on the New York building project that has been, flagged as a risk. This matter, we are aware that it is a subject of a court process, and the department had approached the High Court with the intention of setting aside the award and recover the monies that were already paid. However, unfortunately, the department lost the case. Now they have appealed, so the appeal process is underway. Chair, lastly but not least, as the committee, we have raised, various, areas of concern as I've cited. However, we have also, seen some significant improvement and some, pocket of excellence in some of the areas as well. As I had alluded earlier, one would be on the, the clearing and addressing of the damages and disallowance account, where we have seen massive and significant movement in addressing that qualification. Also, one of the pockets of excellence that we have, we have seen the department, are getting it right. The resuscitation of risk management committee. That committee is chaired by the deputy chairperson of the audit committee, whom we have seconded to chair and independently chair that committee. So it is the committee that is made out of all senior officials in the department. And we have seen really even the management commitment on attending these meetings. And you will recall that this committee had raised, this issue, this challenge that risk management, function or risk management is not taken seriously in the department. And we have seen, the work of the internal audit. However, there are still challenges with capacity. If this department was, adequately capacitated, we will even see more work done by, by this committee in ensuring that, by the time the AG comes, this, the internal audit would have been able, to have, picked up most of the, the issues even before the AG comes. Unfortunately, they are constrained by capacity issues. However, as the audit committee, we have seen, their level of assurance, improving, and we have seen even this by the reporting by the AG. Also, what we have seen as an improvement, Chairperson, is the institutionalization of the combined assurance by the department. Chair, maybe I mean, I can explain later if needs be the importance of the combined assurance. And we have seen the department really improving on those, where at different levels of assurance providers coming live and playing their roles. We have the risk management committee, audit committee, etc., being part of this combined assurance. Chair, on the business continuity, that has also been, this was a risk that the audit committee, had raised, immediately after the suspensions of the suspensions of the Director General and the CFO. In terms of the operational continuity. But we have seen that despite the suspensions and the rotational work by the officials, where really there has been challenges with the the tools of trade, but you have seen the department being able to meet some of the critical milestones. For example, even the submission of the 2021 financial statements that were done on time. So really the department was able to continue and under the leadership of the acting DG and the acting CFO. Lastly but not least, Chairperson, this committee's work has enjoyed the support by the executive authority. So we note that and we commend that, because it is important that this committee also get the support and the buy-in from leadership, because if there is no buy-in, then the recommendations that are raised by the audit committee then will not be implemented. So there have been engagements really with the executive authority, and it is encouraging to note the commitment by management towards the work of the audit committee. Chairperson, allow me then to conclude, as such that, this honorable portfolio committee may just note that due to operational reasons in the AG's office, the signing off of the 2021 audit report and the finalization of the audit has been delayed. So, and unfortunately, it will only be finalized on the 31st of August instead of the 31st of July. This was, communicated by the AG well in advance in their audit strategy, which was approved, by the accounting officer and the executive authority, which, the audit committee did, also recommend for approval. So we are hoping for the improved audit outcome. Then lastly, but not least, that the portfolio committee note the presentation by this committee on the implementation of the audit action plan and risk that will negatively impact the financial performance and the operations of the department. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson Mama Mafulega. Yes, you deserve that drink, that sip of water. It has been a marathon presentation. Without wasting any time, because I want to afford this opportunity first to Reverend Mshe, who indicated that he might want to be excused at 8. Are there any additions from the other audit and risk management members from the presentation of the chairperson, Mama Fulega?
Thank you, Chair. Maybe if you may allow me just the comment by the chairperson of the Risk Management Committee, Mr. Barry Wheeler.
Okay. Over to you, Mr. Barry Wheeler.
Thank you very much indeed, Honourable Chair. Chair, I'd just like to add to some of the issues which my colleague has touched on, and just update you with some of the progress that has taken place within the risk management environment. The first and one of probably one of the important ones at this stage is what has just recently been addressed by the chair, and that is the combined assurance model, which has been adopted by the department. And if I can just indicate that the framework of that combined assurance model has already been approved by the risk management and the audit committee. And it was a recommendation for approval by the Director General. And I do understand that that will go to the Ministers' Management Committee prior to approval. So that just has to be signed. The other issue I want to touch on to some extent is the Foreign Services Act. This has been a while in development. However, it appears that the regulations governing this might be somewhat complex, and that is still outstanding and has been outstanding now for a little while. It is that document together with the organizational structure that should bring about further benefits in terms of the compensation of employees' budget. The other area I want to touch on, we spoke very briefly about the culture within the organization of impunity and what was the lack of consequent management within the organization. And we were able to pin that down to a couple of areas. One is that within the labor environment, one of the things that we're picking up is that officials, senior officials, either here or in missions and embassies abroad, are not taking early enough and adequate action against individuals quick enough. And that has actually led to additional contingent liability costs for the department as a result of the ongoing litigation, which is subsequently caused by that. But the ethics policy has been drawn up and has actually already been approved, subject to an amendment which came about as a result of the new lifestyle audit requirements, which the Public Service Commission has recently published, with very specific groups of people needing to meet deadlines by certain dates within the space of the next 12 months. So that is currently being updated with the adding of the lifestyle audit to the ethics policy. So once that's been done, that policy can also be approved within the department. Another area of concern that we identified and that was leading to certain expenditures, such as fruitless and wasteful expenditure, contractors not being paid on time within the 30-day periods, etc. We've now introduced a standing operating procedure within the procurement department and within the department as a whole, as part of the expenditure and finance environment, on how to deal with erroneous and disputed invoices which are received by the department, and the process that will be followed in settling such invoices. We believe this is also critical to ensure that the accounting work is up to date and that contractors are paid in time. Another area is the contract management unit, which will probably be transferred away from supply chain management, probably to the chief operating executive as well. And this will be a dedicated unit to monitor all contracts within the department, whether they be part of the leasing contracts, whether it be part of licensing contracts, whether it be part of contracts which have specific expiry dates. That is an essential part of avoiding future irregular expenditure and to avoid expenditure suddenly being realized at the last minute and then a major rush to go and procure, often then leading to not necessarily the best result for the department. I just want to touch briefly on the COVID impact. We did receive a first report at our last audit committee on the COVID impact on the department. This was initially raised by Dr. Claudel von Eck, the concern about COVID and impacts on achieving the objectives of the department in terms of performance and also in terms of the continuity of operations and the effectiveness and efficiency of staff. So that's another issue which has been addressed. The last one that has been addressed is the risk model which has been developed for the department. We've updated that further by including a risk appetite that the department is prepared to accept per risk. As you know, Honourable Chair, there's the old saying, you don't put a fence around a pile of stones. So the department has to clearly identify up to what level of risk they're prepared to accept, and thereafter, when it needs to be very closely monitored and when it needs to be intensely monitored as such. So those limits and that have been put into place, and that's also been recommended for approval by both the Risk Management and the Audit Committee by the Director General. Thank you kindly for that opportunity. And maybe while I've got the floor, I want to touch on asset management, because one of the improvements that has been made now is that the missions are required to take a physical asset count every quarter and send monthly reports for monitoring to the Internal Control Office within DIRCO here at head office. Another area that was problematic was committees. This is bit of evaluation committees, adjudication committees, etc. within the supply chain management environment, Honourable Chair and members. Here, new committees have been appointed because of the lack of effective operation and diligence, which was applied by previous committees. So this is now, new committee appointments have been made to improve the process of procurement in a timely manner. Procurement was taking too long within this department. Also, the supply chain management policy as a whole has also been redrafted. That has still, to my knowledge, not been fully approved and implemented at this stage. A further issue which was dealt with within the department from a risk perspective was new delegations of authority were given to the missions to try and reduce the amount of irregular expenditure that was occurring within the department. So there's been an extended authority granted to missions, and that has only recently been put into operation within the department during the year now current, so as to fast track procurements. As not all procurement authorizations then have to come from head office. For ICT infrastructure, we've touched on a number of issues here. I have addressed this personally with the accounting officer, the acting accounting officer, that is, Honorable Chair, about the seriousness of issues on the ground. The fact that there's no replacement or no backup laptop computers for staff. And if a staff individual is sitting at home, the only communication means they have is either by way of a cell phone they may have, or by way of a laptop, or by having an iPad or something of that nature. And then there's also the costs which certain individuals are actually incurring to get their work transferred from a home environment to the office and back again. I know of cases where people do not have workable laptops, and that impacts their efficiency and effectiveness to do their day-to-day work. I think the message has clearly been recognized within the department, and a major effort has been put into place to procure laptops as soon as possible. However, one of the problems is that there is a lack of laptops available in South Africa at the moment. And this also affects the current supplier that's been identified. So how quickly that will take place and whether that will be done before the end of December needs to be seen. However, they are aware of that issue. I think the other item I wanted to raise, because this meeting is predominantly around the action plan, the audit action plan. What has now occurred is that there is a audit steering committee, which has always been there. However, the monitoring of the action plan, the audit action plan, is now and should be done on a bi-weekly basis by the audit steering committee within the department. And the Auditor General also attends that committee meeting. So it's another area that I feel it's necessary that management takes the responsibility to ensure that they accept responsibility for the audit plan and the monitoring of that audit plan and addressing the shortcomings or delays which may occur in executing that audit plan. Chair, I just want to touch on another issue. I think there's a realization now, the Chief Risk Officer within the organization has also met with each and every one of the Deputy Director Generals, with the exception of one or two who have not been available yet, to clearly indicate the role of risk management within the organization, their responsibility as Deputy Director Generals, and also to ensure that the message goes down that the responsibility for risk management is not just the people at the top, or the people who are the seniors in the organization or top management. It's everybody in the organization's responsibility, right down to the cleaner, if need be. If they identify risk areas, that should be brought to the attention of management. And that's what risk management's all about. You've got to adopt it, embrace it, and accept that it's everyone's responsibility. And I think that message has also been clearly made. And hopefully that will change some of the attitude and approach towards risk management internally, and hopefully drive an enhanced and improved risk management culture. Chair, thank you for giving me that opportunity, and I'm quite happy, please, Mr. Msheshi, to continue.
Okay. No, thanks, Mr. Wheeler, and thanks, Chairperson, Mama Mafulega. I think now it will be the opportunity to give honorable members a chance to engage on this presentation. But before I do that, I will start with Honorable Mshew, after I've concluded my short input, and then I will allow other members to raise their hands, and then we'll follow as such. As I see Honorable Nkos and Ngola coming, but we'll start with Honorable Mshew. No, the one that I want to raise quickly before I allow other members, because I want them when they input. I want you members remember the opening remarks of the chair that I've read. I want you to measure this presentation against what was raised in the opening remarks of the chair, and particularly the issue of the remark, the last remark that she made, and let me read it again. The Portfolio Committee observes that while the Audit Action Plan addresses in the main concerns raised by the Auditor General, the oversight-related recommendations from Parliament aiming at improving accountability are not being followed up. Issues of oversight concern keep on reappearing. We really want to see change, real change. So I want you to be the judge as to whether the presentation that we got today is actually also addressing this issue of the recommendations coming from us at the Portfolio Committee, which keeps on reappearing. But also the issue of the Audit and Risk Committee should be complementing our Portfolio Committee in assisting us in measuring the performance of the department, whether it's operating in an efficient, effective manner in actually implementing the targets and all the operational requirements. Last point from me, because I don't intend to raise any other issues after the members have raised issues. I will just allow the responses from the Audit and Risk Committee, is the issue of consequence management. And I have seen the chair, and I heard the chair saying that there seems to be improvement. And I was just wondering, and then the example was that the DG and the CFO have been suspended. And then to the Audit and Risk Committee, that is an indication of improvement. I don't want to say I disagree with that, but I think when other members are engaging, we'll raise that one. Because why I am not, fully agreeing with that statement is that this is the suspension that has to do with one project, the New York pilot project. And as a result, unless we are told that they are charged for other things, but even if they are charged or suspended for other things, it can't be that only two officials, senior as they are, then because they are suspended, then that reflects improvement. Because when we talk about New York pilot project alone, let alone other areas which we might not know, there were other names that were raised that were involved in the whole shenanigans of that project, which the committee raised very clearly that they would want to see consequence management being also taken into account. Not actually that we were interfering and directing the committee or the department but we were saying everyone was involved and there were names. And so far, we only have 2 names that we are being told about who have been suspended. So I think we will really want to see the other names being looked at in terms of consequence management, and also in relation to the 2 suspended senior leaders of the department. I think we will raise an issue, and I thought the Audit and Risk Committee was going to raise it. It has taken too long. It has taken too long. There's been an article that was talking about 130 days. And we, I think, as a committee, would want to see a speedy finalization of that DC proceedings in relation to those 2 senior officials, because you cannot suspend people on the basis that they were implicated in the squandering of the money. And in your process of disciplining them, you are also squandering public funds and resources, because then that alone itself also raises an audit query. So it means that you'll have now to deal with that matter as well. And that people are, you know, they always say justice, what is it?
Delayed.
Denied is justice delayed.
Delayed
eh?
is justice denied.
Denied.
No, Chair.
Or what
Justice
is it?
delayed is
Delayed.
justice denied.
Justice denied.
Oh, justice delayed is justice denied. Yes,
Right.
You
I
are
was
messing up all
I was
these
saying it correctly. I know
No,
Ngola,
you are messing up. Chair.
Ngola wanted to jump and yeah. So on a serious note, really, we would want the Audit and Risk Committee to look at that aspect as well in engaging with the department, that those processes are also really fast track. Otherwise, we will find ourselves in a very difficult situation with regard to issues of consequence management. And Reverend, can we start with you, followed by Honorable Nkosi, followed by Honorable Ngola, and followed by Honorable Beckman. And then we'll see whether there are other hands that will come after Honorable Beckman. Over to you, Honorable Mshweu.
Thank you for your consideration, Chairperson. May I request that my questions be answered before I leave, please?
Okay, let us see whether that's possible.
Okay, thank you, sir. I want to start with what you ended with when you spoke about consequent management. We have been asking questions about the suspension of the DG, because to our knowledge, the squandering of finances and the corruption that took place in the New York project happened before the incumbent was in office. And it's surprising to hear that nothing is said about his predecessor when all these things happened under his notes. So I would want an answer, clarification on what specifically the DG has been suspended for, DG Mahwai. And secondly, Chairperson, we heard about charter flights that were used without permission, without following proper procedures. And I want to have an idea of how much they cost, these charter flights, how much they cost, and how many such flights were undertaken, and from which destination, between which destinations. And the third one for now, because of I have to go, is that assets on the register, there were assets on the register, but they could not be physically verified. This says to me that there could be people that have been siphoning funds that maybe they said were meant for paying for levies of those assets, because whenever there is a building anywhere, you have to pay rates and levies for that building. So my question is whether they have been able to ascertain whether there was money related to those assets that were in the register, that were paid out by the department, because there could not be, these assets could not be linked to any building physical. So is there monies that have been paid, and has that money been recovered, or are they still investigating? So I'm interested to know what happened to the monies that were paid, because you cannot have an asset that is not paying, or the owner not paying rates and levies. So that is my question. Thank you, Chairperson. Bye-bye.
Let me give you the privilege of asking the chair to quickly respond to your questions, and then we'll allow you to go and then remain with the other members. Chairperson of the Audit and Risk Committee.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, and thank you, Honorable Moshwe, for the questions that you have raised to this committee. The first question is on the suspensions of the DG, and I'll just also touch on the CFO. The question that you have asked is, what has the DG been suspended for, and so forth. Chairperson, Honorable Chairperson, allow me to respond it in this manner. That this matter, it is a matter, it is a labor relations matter that resides or remains the responsibility of management, such that this committee has not seen any charge sheet, and because the implementation of consequence management is it is the responsibility of management and the executive authority. However, the audit committee will monitor the implementation of this matter, and we had engaged the minister immediately when the notification of the DG and the CFO being put on precautionary suspension on this matter, and we did get a brief explanation by the minister. However, the audit committee was coming from an approach that, or was coming from a position of us discharging our oversight responsibility, not that we have to assume the responsibilities of management. So in the main, the implementation of consequence management and the labor relations activity or the process remains the responsibility of management, which this committee cannot really interfere with. Chair, Honorable Chairperson, then on the second question that has been raised by Member Moshe on the charter flight, and more specifically, the issues around this and how much did this cost, the department? Basically, the charter cost, they range about, 8,000 or so, depending on the destination, and the department, procure the services of charter, or rather charter services, primarily for urgent or unforeseen trips or to destinations where it is hard to get a commercial flight. So the issue that on charter flight that resulted in the department incurring irregular expenditure was the fact that these services, they were procured outside the existing transversal contract, the RT61, contract. Hence, the department incurred irregular expenditure. However, we can just get you probably the total amount, of it. But in terms of the cost, it is about 800,000. Probably then we can get you the exact amount that it costed, the department on the charter cost. Excuse me. The next question that was asked by Honorable Measure, if you may allow me, excuse me. Of course. Sorry. If you may allow me, Honorable Chairperson.
You can take another sip of water. You're allowed.
Oh, yeah, that is much better. Yeah. Okay. So on the third question, why am that was asked by Honorable Measure. Can I just request the CAE just to respond on this question whilst I'm just trying to address my coughing. Chief Executive, Audit Executive.
Okay, let's allow you to, yeah. Maybe let's allow you to just deal with the clear the cough and then come back and finish that one.
Honourable Chair, may I make a comment on the first point raised by the Honourable Reverend Mashio? While Yanda recovers.
Okay, continue, Mr. Perry.
I just want to add on the question of the suspension, the precautionary suspension of the Director General and the CFO. When we raised the issue with the Minister, we specifically were interested in knowing whether there were any risks that the department faced as a result of those suspensions and of the charges. We were not made aware of what the charges were. And the Minister was also of the view that that was a personal issue that related to the two individuals concerned. And really, she did not want to divulge that to us as the Audit Committee at that point. But the second thing that I need to highlight, and maybe I'd like to make a recommendation in that regard, Honourable Chair and members, is the Minister herself took responsibility for consequence management over the suspension of the DG and CFO. And it was not one of those that would normally be done via the normal departmental route. So I would suggest that although we've asked questions and asked for updates, we've just been told it's going well and they're cooperating and that type of comment. But it's always been a generalization. But I'd like to recommend, Honourable Chair, that the committee directly requests the Minister to actually address the question of why this has taken so long. Also, given the fact I noted that the Honourable McQuire also retired at the end of last year, But nevertheless, the fact is that this has taken time and the responsibility was owned for this by the Minister. Thank you very much indeed, Honourable Chair, for allowing me to make that comment. You said you wanted an independent view on issues, and that's what I'm giving you. Thank you kindly, Chair.
I think that is very much helpful, Mr. Wheeler, because well, I think we must put this on record. We are in any way as a committee trying to interfere with the due processes of DC and grievance procedures. We know those things, they belong to the department and the executive. But the questions that you are asking are oversight questions, and you have answered, and the matter that we are raising of us asking the minister to give us an update on that one is taken care of. But thanks very much for that. Chairperson, are you back to finalize your last response so that we'll move to other members?
Thank you, Chairperson, Honorable Chair, and also just pardon me for just that earlier. Mishap. Just on the last one that Honorable Reverend Moshe has raised on the assets, the existence of as assets and so forth. But the question was more on if there were monies that were paid and how much was that paid on on those assets and so forth. But I think just on this matter on the assets, where I had cited the challenges that the department is seized with, especially in the missions abroad, in terms of the existence and the completeness of the asset registers and the books. Basically, here Honorable Member Moshe, when the AG has raised the issue of the existence, it's more that the assets, it is in the books, it is recorded. But however, as they then trace it, to the floor, it is not there. So there could be, scenarios that might have resulted in that. But most of the assets that had failed, the existence test has not been, the immovable, asset or immovable property. So in the main, it has just been, the existence test and the completeness test that is really linked to the accounting books. So really those assets where they have failed the existence test, really that does not by implication means that monies they've been paid, but the asset does not exist. Thanks, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Chair. I hope you will improve and you'll deal with your challenge as other members are asking questions. It will give you a breather. Honorable Ngosi, followed by Honorable Ngola, and followed by Honorable Beckman, in that sequence.
No, thank you, Chairperson, and I want to appreciate the input of the Audit and Risk Committee as external assurance providers. Let me just say that from the onset that I find it very contradictory that in your introductory remarks on the audit plan, you indicate that management has not taken measures to investigate root causes and have not developed targets that are measurable to your satisfaction. And then you conclude that you've got positive feedback to them, that, for example, that they've committed to assurance provision, that they now attend risk meetings that senior management seem to be taking this serious. Because if our complaint that the department is not taking the audit action plan seriously is true, then you wouldn't be making those type of comments regarding the changed status yet. But nevertheless, Chair, let me pose my questions. Firstly, on the issue of the closing of missions as part of keeping the compensation of employees targeted. I just want to know the following. When the department closed the missions, were the termination of employment in those missions? And what constitutes in itemized form this breakdown of the anticipated 60 million savings? So let's get the items. What is it? What constitute this 60 million savings? Thirdly, in relation to that is, what is the sustainability over the MTF of cutting on compensation of employees only in relation to reducing the deficit on the department's finances? Is it sustainable? Or maybe put it this way, is closing missions and cutting on personnel in missions the only way of cutting expenditure or preventing over expenditure in the department? The second issue relates to the disallowance account. You indicate that there's been substantive improvement, because this 188 million that was flagged is now reduced to close to about 49 million, as you say, and that the department has, to a large extent, been able to back this up with documentary evidence of what led to this disallowance account. May I ask then, what is the progress on this, the balance, the 49 million also? And the irregularly awarded contracts, I think you've identified is that it's one contract in ICT. Can you get details? What contract is this, and why is the department continuing to incur expenditure on it? On the issue of consequence management, it has already been stated. I just want to know from our chairperson's remarks, I just want to know who else is being charged on this issue, because it cannot only be the DG and the CFO. These were the final decision makers, it's true, but there was a chain of decision making that involves the acquisition committee, the adjudication committee, the specification committee. In that chain, who else is responsible? I mean, is being charged for this issue? Then there are the monies owed to the Department of Health. I mean, the Department of Home Affairs. My apologies. In 2021, this amounts to 288 million from 264 million in 2020. Now, I just want to know what is the history of this non-reconciliation and non-payment over to DHA. Chair, may I suggest that maybe this becomes one issue on which we conduct oversight to the specific missions that are not reconciling and not handing over these fees, because these are for your visa applications, your birth certificates, etc. It should be easy to reconcile and hand over the money so that the Department of Home Affairs can be paid. And if you look at the volumes of people that go to our missions, it's a lot of money that is involved here. So may I suggest, Chair, that after the response, we flag this as a matter that we must conduct oversight on. And lastly, Chair, on New York. I just want to know how much it has cost the department to rent the properties that were alternatives, which have not, I mean, which have been vacated now in favor of the new offices. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Nkosi. Honorable Ngola.
Well, thanks, Chair. I'm not sure, Chair, if it is parliamentary to show on Parliament screen a person with the bed that looks like Honorable Nkosi's bed.
Noted.
Well, Chair, I think part of the areas that I wanted to cover have been covered particularly by yourself and Honorable Meshwe and Honorable Nkosi. But I think I want to add on the issue of overspending, which which has resulted to some of our missions being closed down. I want to reiterate, Chair, the question by Honorable Nkosi that was it the most effective option of actually cutting down on spending? But beyond that, Chair, I want to add on that question as well by saying which are these missions that have been closed and which is the remaining four that is going to be closed? What criteria has been used to actually select these particular missions, as in against more than 100 missions across the world? Did we actually weigh up the national interest when selecting the closure of these particular missions? There's an issue, Chair, that a lot of you have raised, which speaks on the irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure. This, in my view, Chair, really is not necessarily about either the New York project or the DG and the CFO. Was the English itself on the presentation says it's a recurring tendency in the department. So therefore, I don't think we can refer to one incident of a New York project gone wrong or the other. The issue is beyond that. If the irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure is recurring, as the English is written in the presentation, which are the specific matters that can be added to the popular New York project? And beyond that, I think this is the popular question. Honorable Nkosi went straight to the detail of how did we end up having a New York project gone wrong, starting from the process at its own start till the appointment. Because remember, there are many role players here. Even if you speak alone about the New York project. So have we not found any fault from those who represented who represented the department in the bid committees? All of them, have we found no fault there, such that the fault is specifically to those who were final signatories? Of course, Chair, we are not looking for the details on the charges of the DG and the CFO. We are not looking at that. But we are checking specifically that in the work of the audit and the risk committee, have they not found any wrongdoing as it relates to the same project that has led the DG and the CFO suspended somewhere else? Have they not found any wrongdoing somewhere else except the issue that has been part of the CAO and DG? No, Chair, there's what is in a way celebrated, the appointment of the Chief Information Officer. You know, it is reported that it took 12 months, blah, 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 blah. But I don't know why is it that the department is taking too long to fill vacancies? I mean, as Parliament, throughout the COVID time, we've been appointing commissions, we've been appointing a lot of people. Now, why is it that when it comes to the department, it's a very difficult thing to actually fill funded posts? Well, 12 months period without having the Chief Information Officer is actually enough to pose an audit and a risk threat to the organization. I think I wanted to raise this matter as a matter for us to note as the committee and take it further with the department, but maybe to the committee on risk and audit. This vacancy, has it not affected the department adversely in terms of the consolidation of the asset ICT and there's what they call the asset management software? Moving on, Chair, first, there's a presentation on audit action plan observations. I want to propose, Chair, that let's take them for noting, and it seems like we're still going to have an interesting year with the department itself. Judging from the observations of the audit committee, we're still going to have a number of interactions as it relates to what has been raised by the Audit and Risk Management Committee. The issue of the termination of irregular awarded contracts, Honorable Ngosi has touched on it. The issue of moving of our New York Commission from the then month-on-month exorbitant lease to a new lease. Can we conclude, or can you confidently say now there has been an improvement in terms of cost saving, cost effectiveness, now that we've moved to a new property that we are leasing? For how long are we on lease in the new property? The last thing, Chair, was a number of things have been asked by members who spoke before me. The issue of the chief director or director for property management, the vacancy filling process is underway. I'm not sure if we are speaking about the position that is whose incumbent is Miss Benis Africa. If yes, is her contract coming to an end? Yeah, just that. Would be happy if it does, without without being accused of interfering. It's just a question, Chair. I'm not sure, because the issue of the organizational structure as well is a spitty pit. So is this the same office that is occupied by Ms. Benis Africa that is coming to, that is whose recruitment process is underway? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Ngola. The other spitty pit before Beckman is the one that you talk about of while the organizational structure is being reviewed, but positions are also being filled. So you don't know whether you'll be filling position that might not exist going forward. Honorable Beckman.
Chair.
Chair, I'm a bit concerned. I know that we have a new Auditor General, and I know that maybe there's a new protocol in place. The way I've always understood the Auditor General is that they have to express an opinion on whether the data that they get from the department is reliable or not. Now, if you're dealing with an acting Director General and you're dealing with an acting Chief Financial Officer, and those are your two powers of strength, we're talking about two bulls in a kraal, and the organizational culture structure is a web. An organogram is a spider web that had the internal auditing committee outside the financial hierarchy, had the legal departments not in the executive, not at the executive table. I would be worried that the financial statements and the documents that I'm being fed are not reliable. I would be concerned. Now, how do I verify that? Do I fly to all the missions all over the world to see the asset register, knowing that the asset register historically has always been a problem? I take into account what Mr. Hendricks is saying in terms of that he's never seen such a, all of a sudden there's that these asset registers are forthcoming all of a sudden. But how are we verifying this? Especially with COVID, I don't think that we're sending a team out to verify these, immovable and movable assets. So I wonder if we're not just being a little bit too kind to this department, and I'm not one to, punish for the sake of it, but knowing the problems that we have here, and knowing why we have the problems, and knowing why we are in the situation that we're in at the moment, I would hardly expect that we would have this glowing Auditor General report. And I was very surprised to go through this document and see, and I thought to myself, where would the mistake be? Would it be from the Auditor General's office, or would it be from DIRCO itself? And the only thing I can think of without going, without auditing it myself, is that it has to be on the reliability of the data. That I'm not sure that we verified completely that the data that we're relying on has been verified to a point. We know that there's been cash that has to be traded in countries like Iran and that, and we know that rats eat this cash. These types of internal controls are quaint, and yet it's not expressed in this report. So I'm just worried I'm just worried that our committee here is maybe just a little bit too excited to give us a good report, when in actual fact, the reliability of the data itself is probably the problematic part, and it's probably something that we should watch out for, because it might just turn back to bite us. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Honorable Beckman. I've noted Honorable Msani. Yeah, but I'm very much excited about your reference of the two bulls and the rats. So I think in this department, we need to do away with those kind of animals and deal with the real issues, because otherwise then we will then not go any further with dealing with issues when we have those kind of scenarios. Honorable Msani, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you to the committee for the report. Chairperson, we just heard the news that The department lost the court case to set aside that New York contract, and the department has appealed. My question is, what are the implications? What does it mean for the department should the appeal also be dismissed? What are the implications for the department? Because this is big money that we are talking about. And also the procuring, meaning the proper procurement of the ICT company, which is preventing the current ICT company from being terminated. This has been going on for more than 2 years now. This contract has been appointed for incorrectly, illegally, for quite some time, and receiving monies of the department incorrectly and illegally, if I may say so, with the delay of appointing a new contract correctly and legally. You can also say that the department is playing games by not wanting to push this contract of legally appointing a proper ICT company according to the PFMA. So I want to know, how far is the process? If the audit team can just tell us, how far is the process of the ICT, of replacing this ICT company and appointing a legally appointed ICT company? Also, has the team, this committee, looked at the property of the department that has been left to dilapidate in foreign countries? And according to their findings, what are the diplomatic risks and diplomatic relations risks with countries where these properties are, and the cost implications? What does it mean for South Africa and these countries to have our properties looking in the manner that we've seen in our oversight? What are the diplomatic risks that we will be facing as South Africa? And I would also like to ask about the cutting of costs of membership contributions. Has this committee actually given a form of advice or looked into which membership contributions the department can cut costs by canceling our subscriptions, which do not benefit the South Africa's relations moving forward? And then lastly, Chairperson, we hear about workshops that were set up to deal with the contracts of the charter usage, but we're talking about consequence management. And I don't think after someone has done wrong, the only consequence management should be to go to a workshop. That is part of it, but there should be drastic consequence management. And we need to know who or what has happened, apart from just having a workshop, to those people who procured the charter, used the charter, and what are the implications? Will they be paying back the money? Will they be arrested? We need drastic consequence management as much as we want drastic consequence management on the staff of the department, but we also need to have drastic consequence management on the politicians who are involved in all these things that we find this department facing. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Msani. I think that is exhausting the questions from honorable members. And I know that Honorable Mamuzung is also covered by our inputs. So we will then hand over back to the chair of the Audit and Risk Committee and the team to respond to the questions and comments of honorable members. Over to you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Allow me and the team to respond to the questions sent by the honorable members. Okay, I will try to just respond on one by one on the questions. Thank you. The questions that were raised by the Honorable Member Ngosi on the list of the closing, rather the closing of the missions, pertaining also to the termination of employment in those missions, what's happening, and the breakdown on the cost, the 16 million cost on that. The closing of the missions, as I've said, the department has already closed 6 missions. Those missions being one in Italy, the Holy See, which will then, be serviced by the mission in Rome. So let me just list those 6, missions. It has been, it is the Holy See, Port of Spain, the mission in Oman, also the mission in Helsinki, as well as Suva, and one mission. I'm trying to remember the 6th one. The 6th one is the one that is in that is close. It is a small town in Russia. So Minsk, I think. Yeah. So that is just. Excuse me, Honorable Chair.
Sorry to interrupt, but it was the mission in Minsk, which is in the country of Belarus.
Thank you so much, Deputy Chair. Yes, yeah, the 6th one is mission in Minsk. The 4 that are yet to be closed by December, those is one, the mission in Milan, Bucharest, one in Lima in Peru, as well as Chicago in the US. And then the 2 that I had said will be closed in 2023, because the term is linked to the head of mission, is the one in Toronto in Canada. So that one will then, the services will be then moved to Ottawa, and one in Sofia. That is the mission that will be closed in 2023. In terms of the termination of employment in those missions, basically, that process, it is done. However, it's done taking into account, the local labor laws, in that country. Just for instance, one of, been the challenging, challenge for the department, in closing Milan, has been, the reason that they are also tricky or challenges with the local labor laws, because as you terminate or deal with the labor issues, you need to take into account the labor laws in that country. However, issues like the notice period and so forth, that to a certain extent has also just delayed the closing. But yes, retrenchment packages have been budgeted by the department, or will have to be budgeted by the department where applicable. So the answer is, as these missions are being closed, also the termination of employment is looked at. Honorable Nkosi also asked about, he just wanted the brief breakdown of the 16 million cost, that I had alluded to, that it is the estimated cost of closing the mission. We are the line items really that we're looking at, costs like the legal fees, leases, and also leases of residences, and your normal goods and services. Also, the compensation. So those are just the costs that that I had. That is the breakdown of the 16 million. What was also asked was, the sustainability over the MTF period on, the only looking at reducing cost of employees, or the COE, in the mission. Obviously, the department, in our engagement, with the department, we had also, assessed and inquired on other, initiatives, or rather interventions, that, or rather areas that they will look into saving cost, not only on the COE. So some of those line items really talks to, international travel, that are other potential, areas where the department can save, or rather save, and also look into buying instead of renting, because as I've alluded earlier, that we as the committee, we are also concerned that there has been excessive cost of leasing some of those properties. And case in point was the properties even in New York. So the only looking at the CCOE line item, it is not the only, or rather the sustainable, manner in saving costs. Obviously, you need to look at the cost, holistically. And the department has looked into other areas where they could save cost. So really, it is not going to be the only measure in curbing cost. On the disallowance account, the honourable member asked on the progress on the 49 million, to date. On this one, the last meeting that we had as the audit committee, where such was reported, the department, the progress at the time, the balance was sitting at 49 million. So members, allow me maybe on this one to respond, back, in writing on the progress thus far, because I don't have, the progress, thus far as of to date on the 49 million. Okay. The member asked about the irregular expenditure that relates to BT communications that is still being incurred by the department, that they continue to incur by the department. Yes, indeed, as I had said in the report or in my presentation as well on Honorable Chairperson, that that is the only a contract that the department has not terminated. Reason being, this a contract relates to the IT network, services, where the department cannot at this juncture afford to terminate this contract because they have not finalized the procurement, of the ICT services that will see to the continuation of the department. So in their endeavor, really to try to regularize, not only regularize, but to properly get an extension from the National Treasury. The department did approach the National Treasury. However, the extension was declined, so the department had to resort to a month-to-month basis whilst the advertising of the new tender is in progress. And the question that was asked was, what stage is this tender at? Basically, the tender process, this tender is at an advertisement stage. The department has sent out an invite, or rather an invitation to tender, which was supposed to have been closed end of July. However, normally the tenders are advertised for a period of 21 days. But due to the complexity of the tender, the department had to advertise it for 35 days, which then it will be closing, or rather, it will be closing on the 21st of August. So which is this Friday. Actually, it is the 20th of August. So then the department is of the view then that, or if all goes well, they will be in a position then to appoint at least by the 30th of September. So before the 30th of September, this tender is running on a month-to-month basis. Then the question on the on consequence management, as it has been cited as one of the challenges, and the members, they've asked to this committee to also name the other or officials that are implicated in these matters. As I had also alluded earlier, around on the consequence management, the implementation of consequence management. As the committee, we have really raised that there has been a slow progress on this and the lack of consequence management. Now the department has started to move on the consequence management, such that we have cited the precautionary suspensions of the DG and the CFO, and the briefing that has also, rather the update by the department, is that also there are bid committee members that have been requested as well to, you know, to furnish written reason as to why they should not be charged and so forth, you know, for the misconduct. However, their responses, they are with, you know, the labor, or rather they have provided, you know, the responses. However, you know, that has still been dealt with by the labor, you know, unit. So, but what I want to stress to the honorable members is that with every irregular expenditure that has been incurred, there is a process that is clearly, you know, articulated in the irregular expenditure framework that the department must follow in addressing, you know, the irregular expenditure up to, you know, consequence management and up to condonation. So this committee, as it is an oversight committee, we monitor and we, you know, we closely monitor and we report on the, you know, the implementation of consequence management in compliance with that framework, you know, by the National Treasury. So in terms of you know, implementing the consequence management, this committee, it does not assume that responsibility to implement consequence management. That falls within the ambit of you know, the employer or management or the executive authority. Members, they've asked about you know, the Department of Home Affairs matter in terms of you know, the history of you know, this long outstanding matter, and it is indeed a legacy you know, issue that you know, the department it is still seized with, that they have not been able you know, to fully address, which is a concern. So basically, you know, this matter arose from you know, the monies that are due to the Department of Home Affairs as a result of their services that they are rendering in those missions. For example, you know, for visas, you know, IDs and so forth, which DIRCO collect on behalf of you know, the Department of Home Affairs. However, the expectation, really, even in terms of the MOU, is that DIRCO is supposed to transfer these monies or this cash to Department of Home Affairs. Unfortunately, in the past, you know, DIRCO has you know, inappropriately used you know, these funds for their own purposes. When probably, let me qualify this. When I say inappropriately, not that they misappropriated the funds, but mostly, you know, they ended up utilizing the cash or the monies for their own purposes in missions. Hence, there are challenges then to refund the monies to Home Affairs. However, DIRCO with Home Affairs, they still have to reconcile some of those amounts owed, you know, so that the department can settle, you know, these monies. But because of, you know, these delays in reconciling these monies, this has resulted in the delays in the settlement. Or rather, the department paying over to Home Affairs. As I also alluded, that you know, these are significant amount, which really might you know, pose liquidity challenges, you know, for the department. The matter on, I was asked about the New York building and the savings in terms of how much is how much is it costing the department on the newly moved in offices vis-a-vis the previous building that the department was occupying. In terms of the numbers, the department, before it moved into this new building, the building where it relocated from, it was paying about 207,000 US dollars. And now with the new building, it is paying around 151 US dollars. So which, and the move, the committee will be aware that the department has briefed the committee that it went through the procurement process. And there was a question by the honorable member, if I can just quickly check, by member Angola on the lease, how the period of the lease in the that the department has moved into in New York. So the department will be leasing this building up until February 2025. So that answers the period of the lease that the department has moved into. Okay, I have addressed the question that was asked by Honorable Member Ngola on the list of the missions, as well, or he also asked on the criteria that the department used in closing these missions and the ones, or rather in closing these missions and identifying actually these missions. Well, some of the criteria that was used by the department in identifying the missions that were gonna be closed, the department really looked into the missions that can be safest, from other missions, or like the nearby missions. For instance, the mission that mission in Oman, that is in the Middle East, can be safest at Saudi Arabia. And mostly the missions that were closed in Europe, those ones, the department really looks at, the ease with which and the advance, that Europe, is at, in a sense that, Honorable Chairperson, the closure of one mission, because of the ease of movement, within the European countries, where you can do in and out, and the advanced in technology also looked, it was really easy, to be able to close some of those missions in Europe. Can I just also make one example? The mission in Suva, that is one of the islands, in New Zealand and Australia. That one can easily be served, by a mission in Australia, in Perth. And and some of the department looked into the activities, as well in those missions. So where there were really low level engagements, between that particular country where that mission is and South Africa, For example, also the lack of bilateral engagements and visit by other of those countries. So those were also one of those the criteria that the department looked into. There was a question then on the okay, I have addressed the issue on the suspension of the DG and the CFO, as I had also said earlier that the audit committee, it is an oversight structure and not management. And I think the deputy chairperson also did articulate our engagement with the minister and what the audit committee's interest in consequence management. However, as I've said earlier, the irregular expenditure and fruitless irregular, they still has to go through the process in terms of the framework. And as I had also alluded earlier, Honorable Chair, in my presentation, that we are yet to be finished with the assessment and investigation report before the end of September or end of Q2 by management, where then in that report, based on the investigations that they would have been done, where responsible people that have caused irregular or fruitless and wasteful expenditure would be fingered in those reports. Therefore, then if that's the case, then labor or rather consequence management will take place. But so as a committee, we will interrogate that and monitor that and make sure that those that are responsible for irregular expenditure consequence management is meted by management. Okay, you had asked on the why did it take long to appoint the chief information officer. Well, the honorable member said in my presentation I praised the department for appointing the CIO. Indeed, that appointment was long overdue. But the appointment of the CIO, it is much needed, by the department, because this incumbent is expected also to give strategic direction and implement, some of, and implement ICT related challenges. So the appointment, it is welcome. However, there are still challenges. We do note that there are still challenges with ICT. The CIO, the issue really, with the appointment of the CIO was that yes, the department, unnecessarily took longer. The recruitment process was, was longer, than expected. 12 months is indeed a longer time. But I think one must also then just also appreciate the fact that, for the appointment of such, a position, the department had to make sure that it is bringing in the right skill, and the experienced, individual as a CIO, because also of the complexity and the criticalness of this unit, and the fact that the department is seized with a critical IT issues, and we have alluded that into our presentation, that we are concerned by the state of the ICT infrastructure and the slow progress in addressing those issues. I had addressed the question by Honorable Mola on the period of the lease, the new building that the department has moved into. Honorable Chairperson and members, Miss Benis Africa, who was the Chief Director for Property Management, resigned from the department in May this year. So Honorable Mola had asked, about the position that is being, recruited. It was vacated by Benis Africa when she resigned in May. Okay, the question on the New York contract case that the department has lost, and the department is appealing, this case. The question was on the implications, for the department, on this matter. As I had said earlier, this matter is a subject of a court a process which the department in this case is an appellant on this. Should then the case not be in favor of the department. Honorable members, if you can then allow me just on this one, in terms of because it is really difficult to predict, how the case will go. But should it be not in favor of the department, what could be the implications, by the department? Unfortunately, the intention of the department is to set, aside, this a contract and recover the monies that have been already paid, which are significant monies. Then should that not be the case, obviously there would be negative implications for the department. Honorable Chair, I had responded on the BT communications tender. It is similar to the question that was asked by Honorable Member Nkosi, that Honorable Member Msane has also asked on the BT. And as I've said, the process then is, the department and anticipate to appoint and finalize the procurement process by the 30th of September. I think I have addressed all the questions. Maybe if you may allow me, Chair, on the question, I just want to quickly check if I might have missed some of the questions. Audit committee members, are there any questions that I might have missed that you just want to add on? No, not on the question that I've missed, but if there is any addition from your side. If you allow me, Chairperson.
No, it's fine. You can proceed, Chair.
Chair, I would like to just touch on one item, and there's one item relating to it that will still arise, and that was Honorable Nkosi raised the issue about the disallowance account and the issues troubling him regarding that account. And I think I just need to clear one or two issues here. And if I can maybe address Honorable Bergman's attention and question on the reliability of data that the AG is concerned about. And these two items are definitely linked. The qualification on the disallowances account that arose for the 2021, for the 20 year, related specifically to the fact that the evidence that was produced to make the corrections to the reconciling items on the accounts together with the exchange rates, that the evidence itself was not available to the Auditor General to check the corrections that had been made up to a certain point. As much as CFO and Finance was saying they had provided it to the Auditor General, the Auditor General found that information to be unreliable and not adequate for the purposes of certifying the financial statements. Again, although we're sitting with a balance now, at this point in time, of 49 million, that's as of now, I think the amount was about 51 million in the financial statements at year end 31 March. Again, the problem there could arise that the information that is required in terms of evidence to ensure that the journals have been put through correctly and for the correct amounts depend on the information that's available locally and also from the missions. There are two problems still within the department that we need to realize relative to that. One is there is no electronic filing system currently within the department. So electronic filing is not done electronically, it's a manual process. So documents are lying all over the show here at head office, and to a certain extent, lying in missions, which are required as evidence for those corrections which need to be verified. Because although the department was given this massive amount that did not reconcile, they have worked through that together with others to be able to reduce that amount. Now, the second issue is that despite the fact that there's no electronic filing system, trying to get information from the missions back to South Africa during this period of COVID, and also with the time-related problems between different countries, what the department has now introduced is a thing called SharePoint, which allows missions and head office to actually share information electronically at the moment. So although the one's been addressed to some extent, the other one has not been addressed as yet. And it's the intention to go out now and seek a proper electronic filing system that can take us forward. The other point I want to make is that the way that the evidence is being kept and held within the finance department now is far better than what it was a year ago. So again, auditors are going to have to come in and re-verify the corrections that have been made. But what is of concern to me is that we're going to reach a point where we're not going to be able to further reconcile. And the question is, well, up to now, given the investigations that have been done, it appears that cash has not gone missing at this point. However, it could well be that cash may have gone missing. So part of that 49 million could contain portions of cash that may have disappeared. And we're not going to know that until we reach either a nil balance or reach a point where we cannot verify through reliable information, which is sufficient and clear in terms of the correct transactions that should have taken place.
Recording stopped.
Over the last few years. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Okay, honorable members, chairperson and the team, I'm also experiencing connectivity challenges now. But chair and honorable members, I think we have had the responses.
Recording in progress.
From the Audit and Risk Committee. There were recommendations there, and we also said we must note their presentation, and there were observations that they've made. And there was a proposal from Honorable Nkosi to pack another item for us to deal with in another way. So honorable members, it has been a long day for all of us. We had 2 meetings today in the morning and traveling in between, and this meeting. And I think with this in mind, unless there is a burning issue that honorable members want to raise to the chair and the audit committee and the audit and risk committee and the team, I think we should call it a day, except to say, Chairperson, there is one concern, but I don't want us to deal with it. The one that of this irregular contracts, I think it has to do with ICT, which they've applied or requested an extension, and the National Treasury has refused. And now they are doing it on a month-to-month basis. But my concern is that they are carrying on with irregular contract, or a contract, yeah, the regular contract. But I don't hear you saying what are you saying about that, because the fact that it's on a month-to-month, it doesn't mean that it's now regular. It's still irregular. And I don't know how to deal with issues of that nature as an audit and risk committee, because it still poses a risk in terms of its status, that it's still irregular. But that it's done on a month-to-month does not justify or change its status of being irregular. But I don't know if you want just to address that quickly, and then we close. What's your take on that one?
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I'll try to also to be brief in my response. Actually, Honorable Chair, you are quite right. You are spot on this. The fact that the contract is on a month-to-month does not, does not then, makes it not irregular expenditure. However, the decision, that the department took to extend it on a month-to-month, they had to weigh, the operational, demands and operational needs, on this, because at that time they could not terminate, because then that was gonna cripple and halt, the operations of the department, as far as also, on the ICT front. So as the committee, we have noted that, and hence in our articulation, we have been recommending and sharply recommending that the department must ensure that they conclude the appointment of the new service provider, so to replace this already irregular, appointed contract or service provider. So hence there has been, the undertaking by the department that they will look, they will conclude, the procurement by the end of September. Indeed, Chair, I agree with you.
Okay, I think that's a homework we are giving you, because then as your oversight responsibility, then you must make sure that either, as we have said, alluded in earlier on, that it's either when there are these activities of this nature, there must be consequence management, or they apply for condonation, whichever becomes the route that they choose to go. So, but anyway, let's leave it at that way, Chairperson.
Recording
and the team.
stopped.
And thanks very much for the presentation, and thanks to honorable members and the support staff. And I think at this point in time, this then formally concludes our meeting. And have a good night, all of you. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you,
Thank
Chairperson.
you all, colleagues.
Thank you.
Thank you.